and Mike Beer here with the daily racing form. We're going to take a look at the Sunday race of the day. It's out at Los Alamitos Racecourse. Mike, we've been focusing on Los Al a lot as of late, and they're actually going to wrap up their racing for this meet there. And the last race is the 1 mile King Glorious for 2-year-olds. And we're going to have a field of 8 that we'll look at top to bottom. And they're 2-year-olds. They're unpredictable, Mike, but I think a lot of the things here is horses either have good recent form or they're trying to get back to the basics on the dirt.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have, some of the newer faces in here, particularly the number 4, Tom Siver, who's probably going to take some money in here. I mean, he's only made 1 start. It was on the grass. They're going to switch surfaces and stretch him out immediately, but maybe it's just the right race. I feel like as far as this field goes, the distance, the 1 mile distance around 2 turns is the great equalizer.
And it's interesting, about half the horses either have nice recent form on turf, as you mentioned, Tom Siver being one of them, or also up at Golden Gate on the synthetic, which I think just shakes up the complexion of this race. So we'll take a look at the time form U.S. pace projections here. And we're not necessarily projecting a fast pace, but it looks like towards the outside, the 8 Stolen Treasure, he might try to be forwardly placed. And I don't think that's shocking looking at his last several.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the horses switching surfaces in here, but he did just wire a field going this 1 mile distance on the grass. So we'll see. He could go in here. To be honest with you, I don't really know how this pace is going to play out there. There's a bunch of horses stretching out in here.
Absolutely. And then the other horse you can see maybe being part of the pace scenario is the number 1, Stay on the Fence. And he's been forward. Some other races he's been further back, but I think the big thing with him is coming out of some sprints at 6 and 7 furlongs. So we'll move on to the field here. We'll actually kick things off with that one, Stay on the Fence. It's one of the Antonio Garcia barn. So he's kind of been knocking at getting the job done. It took him 5 starts to do so, but I thought last time out at Del Mar, it seemed like the distance and the trip worked out well for him.
Got a good trip, got the job done there with a slight forward move, I guess. He's a pretty tough call for me in this race, actually. He's got to stretch out in here. That just a repeat of that win last time is probably not going to come close to getting it done against this kind of a field. And the one time, I get it, he was still a maiden 2 starts back, but the one time they ran him against horses like this, he was nowhere.
The 2 Gentlemen's Club next in the field was able to graduate from the back of the pack 3 starts back, but his last 2, they've tried different things. They've tried the turf going 3/4 at Santa Anita. More recently took him back to Del Mar, and he's just been, it looks like, a little too far back in those races.
Yeah, he looks like a kind of a closing sprinter stretching out, and those can just be the worst kind of horses to bet on. He'll be a big price, however. So I guess if you like him, if there's something about his dirt form that you really like, you can take a shot with this horse because he's supposed to be a big price in here.
Now, the 3 Mes Express, we'll take a look at a replay. We're not going to look at the last 2 efforts. We're going to go 3 back to this race at Del Mar in September in the I'm Smoking. And he was dead last. And you can see he's still dead last. He's going to circle up on the outside here and make up some ground. This is his running style all the time. I think it could work out for him at the mile if the pace is hot. But it just seems like a lot of the times it gets the better of him.
Yeah, true enough. He runs really well in here. He's going to just miss getting up in this race. This was a good performance. He was in good form on the way into that race. His most recent dirt start, when they switched him back to their surface last time, he ran fine. Another race, though, where he just got too far away trying to come from last, but he was running at the end. I like this horse, but as I've already mentioned, he might be a closing sprinter, and they're horses that you want to be very wary of when they stretch out in distance.
Yeah, obviously his resume is one of those things, right? He's 1 for 9. He's always flying late, but I like that you bring up, even last time, it was a good effort, but it was going 7/8. Is he going to get the pace help that he needs going a mile? I don't know, but at least he can pass horses, which maybe helps him with that long stretch at Los Al. Now, our next replay is going to be for the number 4, Tom Siver. He only has 1 race under his belt. It was a winning performance, but that's not dirt. That's some green stuff. That's the grass at Santa Anita. He went 3/4 against Calbreds. And I think he races really well here. He's a little bit of green. He's trying to figure out where to go. But once he kicks on, he does win this race pretty nicely.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, he won't change leads in the stretch here, but he wins it a little bit easier, I think, than the final margin might suggest. This is a pretty good debut for this horse, and he got bet in here like they kind of knew he could run a little bit. We'll see how the surface switch works out for him. I don't know really anything about this sire, but there is dirt on the bottom of this pedigree. This dam could really run. She was a good turf horse, but she was also a really good dirt horse. I think this horse is super dangerous in here.
The 5 last call London's 5-2 on the morning line. Blinkers are going to come off for the first time in his career. And to me, I think the best thing I can say, a little bit of that good race, bad race syndrome he has going on.
That's true. He did not run very well in that most recent start. I didn't think anyway. He's got races 2 and 3 back that I guess give him some kind of shot in here. I don't know if you agree with this, Ashley. Maybe you want to talk more about this horse. I didn't think that he ran that well in the I'm Smoking 2 starts back. He was close at the end, but to me, he never looked like he was going to win. And I thought Mes Express ran way better than he did. I'm very concerned when I watch this horse run. I'm very concerned that the mile is not going to be good for him.
I agree. I mean, thinking about the difference of trips, Last Call London and Mes Express got very different. And I understand their running styles are different as well. But to me, visually, the other horse was way more impressive than him. And I don't like the way he raced last time out. He was stretching out to 7/8. And to me, he didn't really show anything. And I'm not sure if he had an excuse at all. But I will give him maybe a little bit of a look here just with the equipment change. I'm curious to see what that can do, just knowing that in 7 starts, he's always had the blinkers on. Now, we talked about it earlier. There's some horses coming in from Golden Gate, the 6 and the 7. The 6, Clever Clover, is who we'll look at first. And I should say, we're going to take a look at a replay here. I thought this horse raced pretty well last time out. It was earlier this month on December 2nd. And in terms of what he's going to be able to do facing winners for the first time, very different trip than when he was able to graduate. And he is going to close late.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we'll see what happens here. If nothing else, he's a little bit of a wild card in this race because he has run well in all 3 starts so far. Those races are all on the all-weather, though, and they're all going 5.5. He's stretching out from 5.5 to 8 furlongs here. That's a big hurdle. The surface switch is a big hurdle. He's way up in class here. That's another hurdle for him. I mean, I guess he's going to be a good price, but I thought he was hard to like in this race.
The 7 Size Does Matter is a son of Mr. Big, who was able to draw clear pretty nicely in that debut, but $25,000 level, and a similar thing to what you just said about Clever Clover, 5.5 at Golden Gate on the synthetic.
Yeah, not all those things, and then you add in the fact that it's just as good as he looked winning. It's a super slow race. I mean, he just has to be way better on dirt if he's going to beat this field.
Then rounding out the fields, the number 8 Stolen Treasure. This one out of the Ed Freeman barn has always been there, but was able to put it together last time out. And curious to get your thoughts. I love that it was at a mile, but then again, it was a surface switch. It was on the turf.
Yeah, I like that it was at a mile too. So that's one thing you could point to if you want to bet him back in here and just say that the distance is no problem for him and it's a problem for everybody else. I guess that's fair. He also got absolutely loose on the lead last time on a slow pace, and that might not be the case here.
All right, before we get to top picks, don't forget, click below. You can get your free race of the day access for the King Glorious and each race of the day here at DRF. And I'm curious, Mike, I thought this race was tough. You could go with one of the favorites, but I think they're both vulnerable. So I'm curious to see what you did. And you went with Mes Express.
Yeah, I'm going to take this horse on top. I'm worried about the distance, but I think he fits right in. I think his good race is plenty good enough to beat this field if he gets the 1 mile distance here. And more than anything else, I thought he'd be a fair price anyway. Whoever the favorite is in this race, I'll just say that on the way out of here. Whoever the favorite is, I don't want that horse.
I would think that's a fair assessment. I think the one thing of Mes Express, we talked about it, maybe a closing sprinter. I'm not sure what to do with this one, but I will say I think passing horses, as mentioned earlier, with the low sal stretch really will suit him well, but he is going to need to get some pace help. As we know, he's going to come from the back of the pack. So we both went with the number 3, Mes Express, 4, 5, 6 underneath for Mike, and for me, 5, 6, 1. It's the King Glorious. It's the last of 12 races this Sunday at Low Sal. Best of luck.